Okay, go.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, back again. Okay, we're in for the third time here. Welcome. It's time for Blocktalk. Let's get the screen share going here with our usual. We're on Bitcoin block 506422. Let's get a quick weather report here for the mempool. Oh, look at that coming down nicely. People are using Segwit. They're you know, lightning is starting to take off. It's great. Our sponsors for the show today is CoinCards. So you can cash your Bitcoin out, and now Litecoin is available too for over 100 Canadian retailers. Yeah, these guys based in Vancouver here. It's a really great service that they're offering. And our other sponsor for the show, of course, is the Steemit community. You guys were very generous in upvoting the post, and we definitely appreciate it. Big fans of the platform, and really look forward to see where it goes. As usual, we have the live chat going if you guys have any questions. And yeah, without further ado, back. Hello, I am your intrepid host, Alex, and I'm here today with, for the third time on the show, we have Ned Scott of Steemit.
Hey, Alex, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. And yeah, I'm really excited to kind of hear how the platform has grown. And that's one of the reasons we have our other guest on the show today, Adrian.
Yeah, thank you for having me as well. I'm glad to participate. And thank you, Ned, for inviting me in here as well.
It was all Alex. I think he had his own.
Thank you for pulling the plug or whatever you did.
Oh, and the main reason I wanted to have you both here is because our live audience downstairs in the basement in Vancouver there has been buzzing about DTube and Steemit like crazy. So we're really excited to hear more about the platform and kind of what are the plans for the future. So thank you so much, Decontrol. Thank you for calling in. Wave hello, and our live audience feed. If they're not cheerful enough, I'll go back to my soundtrack of applause. But I guess just to let's get the show on the road here. And Ned, do you think you can give us a quick synopsis on people who've never heard of Steem before, what it is?
Yeah, I can do that. Steem is a platform that got its start right here on this show with Alex a year and a half ago. So cheers, Alex, for kicking Steem off on that episode we did a long time ago. Basically, it's a blockchain that it is built to have web applications plug into it in such a way where tokens can be distributed through those web apps to basically build communities. So the Steem token runs through several apps now. It runs through Steemit.com. It runs through DTube, which Adrian's here representing, DSound, DLive, busy.org, and a number of other websites that I'm failing to recall right now. But it's getting to be very exciting. There's lots and lots of community applications being built on this thing. You know, with that comes lots of activity. Steem is actually the most active blockchain today in terms of transactions and actions being taken on a single chain. So basically, it's a blockchain for web applications.
Yeah, and I got to say, it's one of the most polished blockchain experiences I've seen in the space. It's definitely got a first mover advantage when it comes to cryptocurrency and social media, and I expect great things from it. Full disclosure, I do have a little bit of Steem in my portfolio, so I will probably be a little nicer than usual, but I will still try and be tough but fair. Yeah, I'm really curious to hear more about the technical side of things too. From yeah, the newest kind of people plugging into the Steemit platform. So Adrian, do you think you can tell us a little bit about what DTube is and how it works with Steem?
Well, yeah, of course I can do that. Well, Ned has been talking about all these apps, and I've been a member of Steemit.com. I joined Steemit.com like very early as well, and always loved how it worked. And I just, you know, like blogging, it's blogging, you know, it's not videos, and I think videos is better. So somebody made this idea on Steemit actually, but we could make the same thing for videos if we use like IPFS as a storage for videos, and we could just like put the link of IPFS, which is like a torrent link inside the blockchain, and well, everything then just works. So that's what we did, and it's working well. Now we are like a big app, but we only represent like 6% of the blockchain right now, of all the comments and all the things that are posted. So there's so many apps. Ned didn't even mention, like, I think half of it. So I made this video websites because it's like I really love Steemit, like the way it functions and the way you can make money from it. Well, you probably know about it because you know about it like as long as me. But for people who don't know, like we can monetize like blockchain content. You can post your content on the blockchain, and then people vote on it. And depending on how much stake out of all the people who are registered on the blockchain, then you get a little bit of rewards. Every day a bit of cryptocurrency is created and given as rewards to people. So DTube uses exactly the same system. Actually, our videos are exactly the same thing as the contents on Steemit, or what DSound uses, or DLive. It's all on the Steem blockchain. And I really want to thank Ned for making this possible. Like, when I discovered Steemit, I was amazed, honestly.
Yeah, like it's definitely been something I point new users to, and when they ask what is a good use case of blockchain, or at least what is something functioning today for blockchain, yeah, I have to ask is being that blockchain is like this permissionless platform that anyone can build for, and when I first heard of DTube, I'm like, oh, that's genius. They're kind of like hijacking the Steemit community. They're plugging into it. So when you were building DTube, do you consult at all with the Steemit team, or were you just like, yeah, we don't need their permission, we're going for it?
No, of course we didn't ask anyone. There were other apps before DTube. There were like other guys who made apps before, like the mobile app Steem. There's like ChainBB as well, that was earlier than hers. And they already had all the model figured out, so we just did it for videos. But honestly, yeah, that's it. Basically, on every content on the blockchain, there's like a little field that you can edit, which is called the JSON metadata, and you can put any data you want in that. So it's easy to make any type of app and put any data on the blockchain and write it, and then do whatever you want with it.
So Ned, were you, I guess, happy to see that more applications were kind of forming, or like, damn, we were going to do that first? Like, it's kind of distributing the workload a bit.
No, this is the prophecy coming true right here. This is seeing a real hive mind be created, a real scalable situation where other people are showing up and bringing this platform forward, and now it's moving faster in terms of growth than it ever could have before. My mission now, over the next 5 years, is to see 100,000 entrepreneurs build businesses on this blockchain. I want to embrace it and empower it as much as I can. Steemit represents the very first example of Steem technology, and we won't fully see the vision come into fruition until there are many, many more businesses being built on top of this thing, tapping into many more niches, different types of communities.
Now, one thing I noticed from the first time that we talked to now, the site, some stuff has moved around. It's definitely still the clean, seamless experience that was there before. But I'm noticing it says beta in the corner here. Can you maybe give us a little insight of why the platform is now considered a beta?
Well, it's always been in beta. Well, at least since it's kind of, at least for the last year and a half approximately. The reason it's in beta is because there's still problems to solve. We still have a lot of work to do from user experience standpoint. And, I think everyone can cherish the fact that it's in beta. A while from now, if it's a year from now or something, you might be able to look back and say, yeah, I was there during beta. I think it can be a milestone for our early users.
Yeah, I'm in the camp right now of like all the people who are asking me about Bitcoin. I'm like, man, it's so great to I liked Bitcoin before it was cool. It's like Bitcoin hipsters all the way. I think probably putting a beta is still good at this stage in the game as well, and it probably helps you guys on the legal front too if anything maybe does mishappen. have you guys had any kind of experience, I guess, with the regulatory space that's really evolving? Like, has Steemit had to deal with any potential like lawsuits, or even the fact that you guys, I guess, are based in the States? You must have had at least one conversation with the SEC or something.
Well, you know, everything we do, we take into account how you know, laws might apply to what we're you know, trying to accomplish, and we try to work with that. I stay on top of that. It's a big part of my job, and we design for that too. You know, the blockchain itself is designed in such a way where, you know, we don't run it. We just plug into it. You know, so we do think about it, but in particular, you know, I think we're in a very, very good position from a regulatory standpoint.
Cool.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I think like the way the Steem community works is amazing for all these issues. Like, if we ever have like any like bad content, I don't know how to say, then the community will regulate it by themselves. They will downvote it like very quickly if it's really bad. So that's also a good way that the blockchain can self-regulate itself.
Yeah, if we're talking about copyright, you know, in particular, you know, we've got a nice mechanism for that. Just because all of these apps are sharing the same underlying database and the same underlying data, if one of these organizations receives a DMCA takedown notice, if anyone wants to look into that further, DMCA is Digital Millennium Copyright Act. So this is, you know, for copyright violations. If you receive one of those, depending on where you are, you pretty much have to comply with that to continue to have safe harbor protections, meaning that people who own copyright can't come after the platform that is allowing this content to be published. Rather, they have to go after the end user who published that content inappropriately. But the cool thing is that all of these businesses being built on the platform get to share that data. So if we get a DMCA, we can upload it to the blockchain, and DTube can see it, and if they want to respond to it the same way, they can. So there's a very strong network for the businesses that are built on this. They get you know, a lot of tools at their disposal, and there's a network effect of businesses and entrepreneurs helping each other.
So have you come across a Steemit Uncensored yet that just hosts everything, and like with no, it's hosted on the Cayman Islands or something, and it just puts anything out?
I don't think there's very much censorship going on at this time, so I don't know that there's a huge demand for that. If there is something that's ever taken down, there's a clear mark on Steemit for that, and someone could go directly to the blockchain to find it. And then maybe it is on DTube. I don't know what Adrian's stance on those sort of items is at this time.
Well, if we receive a DMCA or any type of legal notice, we will just block the IPFS hashes from our servers. And well, if it's somewhere else, it will still load. We cannot do anything about that.
Now, for those who don't know, do you think you can explain what IPFS is? Like, it's the newest, hottest thing, I know, but it's definitely out of the knowledge of a lot of people.
Yeah, I can explain IPFS. I've been playing with it ever since I started like trying to make this thing, and I think IPFS is really great. Like, it's a way like to remove like you know, our file always points like to a server, you know, on internet with HTTP. Well, IPFS, it's just a hash, and it will look on a distributed network for this hash and automatically get it back. So the file could be anywhere. Basically, you're asking, you have an address system, IPFS, and basically it will fetch the file from anywhere it is. So I think that's brilliant. Like, IPFS has been used by the Catalonia government in Spain. You know, like there's been like some political like issues, and IPFS has been a way for them like to get their website like still online and viewable by Spanish citizens. So I think it's a brilliant technology for censorship and all that. I think it has a bright future. If you look at IPFS, it's growing like crazy. More and more people are using it. Right now, it's still like some experimental technology, I guess. It's probably not ready for production for big websites because it's still very unstable and there's still like a few things that don't work. It's pretty much a beta as well. But it's definitely going the right way, and I think it's brilliant. It's going to change the way like files are stored in the future on internet, because the way it works right now with centralized servers and the way like files are sent. It's not efficient. It's not optimal. IPFS is really great in my opinion. The more I play around with it, the more I'm convinced it's going to be the future.
So I upload like a video, and then it's like broken up into little pieces, and it's stored on a bunch of different computers, or like I'm
not necessarily. First, it will be stored like if you upload it through DTube, it was going to be stored on our servers, but you can upload it through your computer as well. If you have IPFS on your computer, you can upload it from your computer. And first, it's only going to be on your computer, but if more and more people watch it, then the file spreads over the network, and it can stay like in the RAM, or some people can pin it on their hard drives if they want to, but by default, it will just stay in the RAM of the PCs, and that's the way it works right now.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are watching. A lot of the guys who I guess work within the IPFS Foundation. They're working on their own distributed platform, Filecoin. So I'm kind of curious if that will kind of play into like DTube and Steemit's future.
Well, I think I can answer that because I talked with one of the IPFS guys, like when I was in Lisbon for Steamfest actually, and yeah, I think Filecoin is a good project. Like right now, we need to use like third parties to store the files long term, because we don't want to store it like YouTube does, like forever, because it would cost so much money, right? So what we do is that we take like a small percentage of the rewards from the blockchain, and we send it to a third party to host like the file for whatever, depending on the rewards. The more rewards you get, the longer the file is hosted. And this is like kind of a treat, you know, it's not perfect. If there was like a blockchain mechanism, a blockchain to basically pay for file storage, well, I don't know, probably when they launch, like file storage is going to be like super cheap or something. I don't know, it's going to be super interesting. I don't know what's going to happen because nothing is out yet, and they don't even have like SDK or anything to test. So I cannot say, but I think, yeah, we're going to look into it when it comes out, and if we can use it for storage, we're going to use it. And I don't know about Steemit or other apps, but I think there's like DLive that uses IPFS already, and DSound. Yeah. Steemit, I don't know. I think you guys should use it. You should use it for pictures or something like that, at least.
We could use it for pictures. A year and a half ago, we started playing around with it, and it hasn't made it back onto our roadmap just yet, but it is a tool that we think about. There is a clear distinction between the way Adrian and DTube are using IPFS today and the way that Steemit is just using the Steem blockchain for data storage right now. The Steem blockchain is perfect for text storage, and it makes it immutable. And if you go back and listen to what Adrian said, he's using IPFS for only a week of video hosting. Is that right, Adrian? Just a week?
Yeah, exactly. We store it for a week, and after that, it's just paid by rewards for third parties.
It's paid by rewards for third parties. Does it stay available?
If you check the DTube account on Steemit, you can see we send some transfers to IPFS store. Depending on the rewards, we send like 10% of the beneficiary rewards we made for the.
Is that keeping all the videos up into perpetuity, or some of them coming down? Yeah.
It's at the cost of like 4 cents per gigabit per month or something like that. Yeah. So it's pretty cheap. Like some videos are hosted until 2030 or something like that.
Oh, so they get contracted in. That's great.
Yeah, they're in the hard drives. They won't leave.
That's terrific. So yeah, I mean, it's something that we can play with in the future. I'm personally extremely excited to see entrepreneurs take this in new directions. What Adrian's doing with DTube, he's clearly, getting into killer app territory. The number of YouTubers that we're seeing come over onto both DTube and Steemit now to learn the system and play with the different apps is absolutely amazing. So I hope that we can all harness each other's work to really bring the whole platform forward. The neat thing is how aligned all of our incentives are by using this same token. You know, as Adrian has success, that's success for all the other entrepreneurs on the platform. The more awareness and attention is paid to Steem, the better for everybody. That said, one of my concerns is in making sure that these businesses do get all they need to become self-sustaining and to just get that Kickstarter that they might need. So one of the projects that Steemit is now working on is creating some new software for the Steem blockchain called Smart Media Tokens. essentially a sort of token issuance protocol on Steem that is in some ways similar to Ethereum's ERC20, but with less sort of general purpose programmability and more of an application specific programmability that allows people to launch tokens, where the tokens can be used for fundraising via ICOs. They can be used for monetization by taking a cut of the rewards that are flowing through the token issuance properties of these tokens, because these tokens function a lot like Steem, where the tokens get distributed to people creating content, and then get based on the voting algorithms that get applied to that content. And then, of course, with that, there's a sort of natural growth mechanic and all that. So what we're providing to entrepreneurs like DTube, if they should use smart media tokens, is they'll be able to access fundraising, monetization, and some sort of growth mechanism, which is really what all businesses need to get started and become sustainable.
Yeah, the ICO craze has really just been the main thing that's really exploded in the last year, and I think it's what's bringing a lot of people to cryptocurrency altogether. So I can see how having that functionality in Steem makes a lot of sense. Like, and even on a base level too. I know that Steem has like its own kind of marketplace built in, or its own exchange or DEX. Is it going to have the functionality with that as well?
It does currently have a DEX between the secondary token, the Steem-backed dollar, and Steem. As smart media tokens come into existence, they will trade against Steem in the decentralized exchange. So as you launch a token, it has instant access to liquidity, which is a huge plus for the entrepreneur, because they can be a small-time player, and they don't have to worry about getting listed on all these exchanges, where in some cases today exchanges are charging $1 million to $2 million for a listing, and that prices out a lot of potential people from this market.
It's totally brutal. I'm dealing with it on my end already, and it's absurd how much they're charging to host more. But yeah, I think just providing a basic trading functionality is a lot what these just need. Just on like one trading pair built into the platform probably works for the majority of people. So like what sort of, I guess, customizations can they have? Like, are we talking like, the amount of units that they can have, or, a custom name, and how are those names kind of chosen, that sort of thing?
Yeah, the basic stuff for sure. So, all the way from launching a token that has a divisibility of 0, and you're only launching one token, you create a use case like CryptoKitties with that, all the way up to creating a token that has lots of divisibility and, a large emission rates of new tokens over time, that you could use to grow a community that, maybe focuses on a specific topic or something like that. I think there's rewards curves changes too, and that sort of thing. Steem has had different curves in how tokens are distributed over time. It's had a superlinear curve. Now it has a linear curve, and there's different pros and cons with each. But I think what might be interesting is, Adrian, have you guys considered the smart media token protocol? And if you are, how might you set it up?
Yeah, when's the DTube ICO?
I'm not even sure there's going to be a DTube ICO, but yeah, we're definitely planning on making a SMT. And honestly, I'm just thinking about the users. Like, it's not really about the money. We're making money already. It's like, I don't know, like everything's doing well. Like the markets, the crypto markets are doing well. Like I just want the website to work really well, and I don't really care about that right now. I think I'm going to wait for it to be on the testnet, and then we're going to play with it. But right now, we haven't really thought about it. But it's an interesting subject. But like the linear rewards, like I don't think it's really good myself. I'm more like on the other side. But I think the way it was made before was even worse than the linear rewards. I wish we could have like some in between, something configurable. And yeah, basically the curves is really the one thing that's really important to configure. The rest is just like the total supply. So you make it bid if you want to have like bid precision. Like right now, Steem, like if Steem hits $10, then we have the same precision as the US dollar. We cannot like send less than 1 cent, basically. So maybe that's something to consider, that we need to maybe print more than what Steem printed if we want to have like more precision. But apart from that, then only the curves are important to configure, I think, in the way it works. And the rest, it's whatever. If you make 1 million or 10 billion, what does it change? It's just the value that's going to go down. It's everything divides by itself. So
I think what we've stumbled on here is, there's a very repeatable smart contract. In the same way where we look around at industrial companies throughout the world, and many of them use some semblance of reward points, right? They call them, like coffee bucks or, loyalty points or what have you. But there's no real market for these things. They don't trade like money. And I think it's a natural progression to see these tokens become liquid. And in a way, that's a big part of what smart media tokens represent, is a way for people to get real skin in the game with the businesses that they use. There are definitely some technical aspects for an entrepreneur to learn about, but ultimately, they get to focus on the simple things. They can raise money, they can monetize with these things, and it can help them grow their community.
So is this meant to kind of, I guess, displace like Patreon, where people can like kind of have more like prepaying for things? Because like the Steemit platform I like because it would reward you for creating something rather than, pay for it ahead of time and then you produce it. Like there was no like kind of speculation gap in there.
Yeah, Patreon seems to be mostly about tipping. And tipping is mostly something that can be facilitated and constructed at the application layer. So it's absolutely something that even Steemit or DTube could focus on. What I hope happens is that someone does launch an SMT, and then with that launches an application or an interface that begins to compete more strongly with Patreon. Because it's one of those niches out there. I believe that applications powered by Steem and smart media tokens can penetrate and outcompete all the apps that we see on the internet today, Patreon being one of them.
So recently, I think crypto had like its mainstream kind of moment, at least in the YouTuber light, where the gentleman H3H3 Ethan, he did a video on the BitConnect Ponzi and like how can we be incentivized to have people like Ethan come from YouTube, which is now becoming more of like a Netflix, to the Steemit platform and DTube? Like, where do you see that the transitioning happening more frequently? Like, what is the incentive, I guess, for a YouTuber to not use YouTube at all? Even
we're seeing tons of YouTubers come over who are basically having their platform effed with by YouTube. YouTube is demonetizing many content creators, and that's upsetting to these people. So those people have kind of no problem deciding that they need to try something new. But Adrian might even have more insight into this.
Glad you didn't swear. Now I'm not going to lose my monetary reward.
DTube is growing like crazy, like for the past 2 months. So as long as it works, as long as people can upload and everything works on our side, it keeps on growing. It's I think there's just so many YouTubers, it's so huge, there's so many people, that when there's just like 1% that gets mad at YouTube because they receive an email or something, then they search for alternatives, and here comes the flood for us. So we're still really, really small. Like Steem and the number of people on the Steem blockchain is still really small compared to Facebook or YouTube and the number of registered users they have. So if we can keep growing and getting closer to that, then, well, we're going to keep getting so many users on the Steem blockchain.
So right now we are currently live streaming to YouTube, and I do that mainly because it's convenient and it's kind of well-polished platform. But is there any opportunity to do live streaming with DTube in the future? Is that on the roadmap at all?
No, it's not on the roadmap right now. It's pretty complex, and I don't know, like making it like in a centralized way. Yeah, it's possible, but there's already like some other people doing that on the Steem blockchain. So why should we do it? Like if they do it good, then maybe we're going to use it in our app. But we want to focus on the videos right now. We want to focus on one thing and do it good, and people are going to come for videos. I'm sure of it.
Craig, do you have any questions? No? Okay. Let's go to our live audience who have been waiting patiently, I'm sure, and see if there is any questions from the people in Vancouver there. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hello.
Hi. Any questions for the Steemit and DTube teams?
For new users who are a little bit unfamiliar on how you can earn revenue without advertisements, can you go into a little bit in depth about how that's possible? Because I think a lot of people are just so used to seeing advertisements, and that relate to revenue. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that, you know, another way that this question often gets asked to me is, where does the money come from, right? And one analogy that I seem to use frequently is that, you know, what we have here are sort of just internet points. And if you look at how Steemit is similar to Reddit, Reddit has an internet point system called Karma. And karma is being distributed people just for taking basic actions on the site, right? And points are generated and distributed to users. The same thing is going on Steemit or DTube. It's just that those points are traded in real-time markets in parallel. And when they're being traded, there's buys and sells, and, you know, buy and sell creates a price. So if someone buys a point for $10 and you have 10 points, then you can surmise that you have $100 worth of points, right? So that's basically the flow of things. And then in terms of revenue, like you mentioned, you know, the website that's operating and plugged into this point system can take a cut of that and can use that to make the website sustainable. And you know, we're seeing that from a number of websites now.
I think how I'd like to see DTube use the smart media tokens is every time there's a view that's registered, maybe have a point that has its own market trading event attached to it. Like that would kind of be my main takeaway of like how that can integrate.
I would love to do that. If you can do that with reducing the Sybil attack vector, it would change the game. So that requires a bit of an identity feed. So one of the next layers, sort of the next phase of SMTs, you know, I'm getting a little ahead of myself because we got to get the first iteration out, but eventually we can integrate oracles, and those oracles can send identity data into the blockchain. And then you combine the identity data with the distribution mechanism of these tokens, and suddenly people are playing games or earning tokens, you know, based on views, like you mentioned, or they're, you know, competing in a way that really produces a wisdom of the crowd that helps curate a site. And I don't know that we're exactly seeing that on any of these platforms today, but if you combine identity data with token rewards, we're going to start to see some really excellent behaviors in these sites.
Yeah, I haven't seen anyone come up with a proof of human yet.
Proof of human? What do you mean, like proof of alive? Like if it's a dead human, does it count?
Well, how do you know that it's a real person watching the video and not a bot just continuously watching it over and over again? And I don't think there is really anyway, unless you're linking in maybe more systems, like, you know, if this person has a Twitter and a Facebook and a YouTube, and like then they are a person, like, if that makes any sense. But it like I said, I haven't seen any good implementations of like proof of human or proof of person, proof of existence, I guess. I don't know. It's a very abstract concept.
Right, but if you took a company like Civic, which is priding itself on being able to aggregate identity information, right? And you take Civic, and then you maybe take two of its competitors, and you make all of them oracles for some smart media token, then they're all competing to publish feeds of account name and is this person a real person without a second account or not. So they're basically saying account, yes or no. And then you kind of match all three of those identity feeds up and see if there's enough overlap. And then you say if there's 2 out of 3 saying this is a real person, then maybe they're eligible for rewards. That could be your proof of human. And then maybe you need a sort of auditor. So you pay a 4th oracle with some of the emissions from this SMT to audit all of those price feeds and see if those identity onboarding companies are actually doing their job well. And then they call them out. So if Civic suddenly were publishing a bunch of false information, they would get called out about that, and then maybe they could lose their potential, their position there as an oracle. So I think that there's some really cool stuff there. I'm working on this paper now. I do think that we'll get there in the next couple years and see some real implementations.
Yeah, as far as I know, mainly what Civic focuses on is just like a phone number, like, and then that's relying on a couple corporations to basically say this phone number has an entity attached to it, or like there's a, you know, that someone's paying for this. Like maybe that's kind of, they're always got to go back to the money aspect of it. But yeah, it's something I've seen, not just, you know, the blockchain projects, but mainly exchanges are having a hard time with it, dealing with you know, KYC and everything. So I think there is going to be some good resources in the future and good oracles being formed. But yeah, it's very early stages. It's not even beta yet.
Yeah.
Any more questions from the basement there, guys?
I was going to ask about the bots, but I think you answered it. So.
You have to speak up.
I was hoping to ask your opinion on the bots that are present everywhere, but I think you just answered it without me asking it. So thank you.
Yeah, I think that there are some real solutions, you know, in the future, you know, with real identity-based tokens that we can test out in smart media tokens. We will see communities where the economics are keeping the bots away. Bots aren't necessarily a bad thing today, though. You know, there's a human behind each and every bot. But I would say that there is, some could say there's a spam problem. So if we wanted to talk more about that, I think that that is something for the applications to deal with. Just like the applications of Twitter and Facebook deal with spam today, applications built on top of Steem should be dealing with spam too. But Adrian, I'm curious on your take on bots and spam.
Well, my stance is that I hate bots. Even if there's humans behind it, I don't like it because most of the time it's malicious and people write the bots because they don't have the time to do it themselves. And I love the way the distribution on Steem works because it's kind of like proof of human. It's not really it, but it's kind of like that. A robot cannot like really write like good English and something that makes sense. So I've been people making bots and trying to cheat this system somehow, and especially the people, like Randowell, you know, like this type of bots where you send some SBDs. I think this is really touchy for the system right now, and I think it will just take time for the community to adapt and people to realize what things are for what they are. But I think bots don't have their place, like at least not bad ones. Some ones can be really useful, like Cheetah. You know, like Cheetah is really useful. It can even detect like the plagiarism from our videos on DTube, from the YouTube description. From the description on DTube, it can find like the corresponding YouTube videos. So it's quite useful. But some bots are just made for profit, and I don't like it. But we will see how it goes. It's their freedom to do it, right? It's their freedom to do it, and it's up to the community and maybe developers to find like some ways to stop it. That's my stance on it.
Yeah, and to Decontrol's point, you know, I think that introducing the new smart media tokens and different oracles and that sort of thing, we'll see economics get applied to these communities in new ways that maybe disincentivize some of these behaviors that are controversial. And by having more tokens, we have more opt-in or opt-out opportunities. So we get to see the community vote with their feet in terms of what they're enjoying.
We have some questions here about in the YouTube chat as well. Was Steemit created with an ICO? So I'm curious because this is something I deal with all the time. Like in every project, people think was an ICO.
So Steemit is just a web application. Steemit is not the token, nothing like that. It's a website built by a company. Underneath Steemit, yes, we use Steem quite heavily. Steem is both a blockchain and a cryptocurrency token. There was no ICO for the Steem token. It was mined into existence through proof of work. And then it's switched over to proof of stake.
So I guess it looks like you guys got a new office from the last time I talked with you. So it seems there must be some funding coming in, or just, I guess, being involved in crypto from an early state. You guys are doing well. You got a nice mixer table in the background there.
Being involved early has been great. And, you know, the industry has gotten so large so quickly. We're really in a fortuitous position to really see our vision through, to see, us empower entrepreneurs to tokenize the web. Like I said, in 5 years, we want to see 100,000 entrepreneurs build businesses on this blockchain. And the value just kind of comes with that. If we're on the right trajectory, we'll see validation like that. And I'm glad it's putting us in a greater position to see this vision through.
Oh, sorry, the YouTube chat is getting a little rowdy. I'm gonna have to do some censorship here. Yeah, so like I think for long-term viability, like the company can be more than just a startup if you're not like based off of an ICO, I guess. Like and people are able to come to the platform and feel like they can contribute, and like they don't need to be rewarded directly. Like their incentivization is to participate, just like the Steemit Corporation, I guess. So like that's the real benefit of doing it the right way, which is not doing an ICO, because that really centralizes the money supply and it centralizes the development. So not doing one really empowers things like DTube to really flourish naturally and see the overall benefit.
Yeah, our goal has always been to create an aligned community, and I think we've only gotten closer and closer to that over the last year or so. So I'm happy with the way things have gone, and I really see us on a strong path towards seeing greater and greater collaboration and alignment. We get Adrian's opinion on that too. Adrian, how do you see the community coming together? Are you seeing good alignment and opportunity for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, well, especially when it gives some millions of Steem power to everyone who makes an app. So yeah, definitely. But I think there's going to be some good apps. I think there's going to be some bad apps. It's just like everything. Some stuff will just fall, and some things will just succeed and become huge. I think the vision is correct. I think like the way it works, it's simple. People vote, but you don't lose money when you vote. It's just like it's based off your power. It's like magic. People think it's too good to be true. Like a lot of people I've tried to recruit on Steem, and now they're telling me, "Oh, I wish I listened to you and I came in earlier." That's what they're saying nowadays. So I don't know if it keeps growing and it's working, and we can really monetize things like our own way, right? Without centralization, without like advertising, just by giving value for people, just because they create value inside the community and they get rewarded for it. Yeah, it's gonna work. That's what I think, and it's working brilliantly on DTube right now. There's a lot of people voting the content and generating money. A lot of people are really happy and saying thank you to me every day. Oh, thank you for the platform, thank you for the money. There's a lot of people like in countries where like making $50 is like huge, and these people are like super happy. It really changes their life. Like for people like from US or France, it's probably not life-changing money, but for all these other people in other countries, it's really huge. So I don't know what will keep happening, because I think we have like a system that's going to keep on snowballing. So what's going to happen next? I don't know. Something will break or something.
So I'm just on DTube now just to see what videos were recently posted, and there is a familiar face who has a video that's trending at the moment from the one and only Daniel Laramere, who was very helpful in the technical creation of Steemit. I'm curious, Ned, are you still working at all with Daniel, or are things, is he mainly focused on working on EOS, or is he still providing some technical help with the Steemit platform or the Steem blockchain?
Yeah, Dan was integral in getting Steem up and running at the start, and as far as I know now, he's completely focused on EOS.
Well, with the exception of posting some videos on Steemit, I mean.
He's been back to blog a few times.
That's good that he's still participating, but yeah, I'm excited to see what EOS can deliver, but hopes are set pretty high right now, I think, across the community. So he's got a lot to deliver on. I can understand it's taking a lot of his time. Geez, let's let me get through the YouTube chat here, but I'll go back to the decontrol basement and see if there's any questions, or maybe even Craig here, my AV guy, is got any? No? Okay, you just sit patiently quiet. That's okay. Okay, so decontrol. Any more questions from the basement there, or we'll start wrapping things up here shortly?
One question. Just recently on YouTube, they've implemented new thresholds for people creating content to be able to monetize their content. Previously, there was no threshold. You could immediately start monetizing, but there have been some major issues with advertisement and censorship on YouTube lately, and they've increased that to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours watched. Do you see in the foreseeable future something like this having to be implemented, and can something like that be implemented, or will it be able to scale properly?
So just to kind of rephrase, is the question, can videos be demonetized?
Is there any way in the future that where you wouldn't be able to monetize immediately and you would have to hit a certain threshold, similar to what YouTube has just introduced?
As long as the blockchain can scale and get this content into the system, then the content becomes eligible for the rewards. And how the rewards are distributed is completely community-based. It's based on stake-weighted voting. So basically, whoever has tokens gets influence in deciding where the new tokens go. There's not a central company like YouTube to decide who can and can't make money based on XYZ criteria. And if any application ever tried to get in the way like that, another application would pop up to outcompete them by being more open, would be my take. Adrian, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so as well. That's why we don't delete anything. I'm sure there's a lot of people uploading on DTube some bad content, and they probably want us to blacklist them or something, but we don't need to do it. We just don't vote them and they get out of visibility. I don't want to put any filters or anything. It's more work and it's useless. If the video is bad, people don't vote it and it gets out of visibility. On DTube, it hides completely. On Steemit, you need to click another button to display it. But yeah, I think it's a good enough system. I think the community can manage the content. The community has incentive to do basically good things in the community to get rewarded after that. So there's a lot of people basically it's little bees, they all want to get these rewards, so they all do good for the good of the system. So I think it's the first time we see that a system that incentivizes people to do good things over and over in order to get rewards, and that's why Steem is going forward. The community is really huge, and people are doing things together. I'm sure Ned is happy about that. It's a lot less work for him. The community does so many things on itself. The same thing happens for DTube. People are making T-shirts and stuff, and they want to send me some stuff as well. It's great. I don't know what else to say. As long as it runs, as long as it doesn't break, as long as the blockchain is still under capacity and our encoding servers are running and not breaking, everything is going to be fine.
Yeah, I guess with regards to voting as well, being that the platform has kind of grown up a little bit, it's coming up on I think a 2-year anniversary maybe now. Ned, any comment on the climate of voting? I know the last episode we had you on, we talked a little bit about voting coalitions and people kind of forming groups of curation and stuff, so people working together and combining vote power. Any comment, I guess, on the state of whales and dolphins and fish?
So since we had that last chat, the nature of rewards distribution changed from being a super linear voting power scheme to a linear voting power scheme, which basically, in the previous iteration, the more tokens you had, the more disproportionate amount of influence you had, and that was created as a Sybil reduction attempt. But ultimately, it led to a feeling of unfairness on the platform. So personally, I was happy to see it switch to linear, and with that, change some of the voting dynamics. And overall, the nature of things today, I don't know. To me, it feels like a more relaxed voting culture. Whereas in the super linear culture, there was a lot of pressure that got pushed upwards to get people to act certain ways, and I found it to be stressful for the community. So personally, I'm liking where linear is, but Adrian mentioned earlier that he kind of sees things from another perspective. So there's still challenges in the way voting is today. But like I mentioned before, with smart media tokens, we get to see so many more experiments play out with the introduction over time with oracles. We get to see voting be based on has this person a real singular identity. Does that make them eligible for voting, or have they completed XYZ task, and does that make them eligible for voting? So with all these introductions of new types of data, we're going to see all sorts of different voting climates and voting behaviors. I'm really excited to see those new experiments play out. Right now, we don't have a perfect system. We know that there has to be more experiments to find what's really the best way of doing things in a system like this.
Yeah, and people will be able to experiment with the SMTs. So many ideas. I'm sure there's going to be like hundreds of experiments, and maybe someone will find the perfect formula or something like that. There's a lot of questions on the chat about like out of all the YouTubers who came on DTube and who spoke to me about the system, like the big guys, like one of the big things that comes up is like the fact that it's not really fair. Like you said, it was like even less fair before. It was like the big whales game when it was like quadratic rewards, but now it's more fair. But people still think it's unfair. Like this guy in the chat, the Carrioner guy, I talked with him, and he said like, well, one bid whale can like put me out of visibility, or one bid whale can make my content like $50, and all his audience from YouTube that he carried over, and they give him like maybe $1 or $2 organically from while if I come and I put like a vote with DTube, then it gives him like $50 instantly. So it's kind of oligarchic system, and I think like that's the main concern with people right now. But we, as you said, we cannot make it more fair than that because of Sybil attacks. But I think we need to explain that maybe better. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're trying to address with the smart media token play as well. Just to give people more opportunity to be successful. And then there's another element, like we mentioned getting downvoted and then content isn't seen. That's really an application layer problem. It's the application that chooses to make something be hidden after certain actions, right? So if the application starts to read that voting data differently and keep those people visible, then there's no problem in that sense. So there's solutions from many different angles. The applications have to get better, and we have to see more opportunity and better structured economic systems. So I think we're really moving towards both. Applications are being worked on, and eventually we'll have the opportunity with SMTs for more experiments.
Yeah, so you think more and more applications will basically have their own database where they show the data in the way they want, instead of using the trending, the hot, and the new as we use on Steemit and DTube?
I think there's a strong inclination to use the economics of the token to help sort the page, but even Steemit is going to be moving towards a more community-based organization. So similar to how Reddit, basically, if you go to Reddit today, they have pre-selected about 10 communities, and then the sort order of best posts in those 10 communities is what you're seeing on the homepage. Now, anyone can adjust which communities they want to follow, and that'll change what their homepage looks like, but it's not all based on one single set of economics. So I do see interfaces attempting to do things that are not exactly coherent to the economics of the token, but I do think that there's a strong inclination there because it's an easy heuristic to rely on, and it's been successful for us, and there is a demand for auditability. Users and holders of the token want to know which posts are getting upvoted the most, so that they can audit it and decide whether to upvote that content as well, or if they need to downvote it and control the flow of new tokens because they don't agree with how they're being distributed by other people.
So you want to keep like the blockchain as the main fetching the data mechanism because it's more fair, it's more easy to audit, it's open source.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing for applications to rely on to help sort their pages, and even Steemit will continue to rely on it heavily. But as there are SMTs with different economic algorithms and many different interfaces plugging into those different SMTs, I expect to see lots of different experiments, not just in the economics, but in how the applications present the use of those tokens and the distribution of those tokens.
Yeah, because I was speaking with Fabien from Buzzy about that earlier, and I also think it's really important that the blockchain stays as the main way, like to connect a website. I think like the oracles, yeah, it can have great uses, but for a website like DTube, we want to be able to stay decentralized and to be able to fetch all this data from a node directly without having to have like a server that we control that can be DDoSed or everything that can happen. So I think it's great this way.
I'm in favor of that too, and I don't see any reason why an organization wouldn't be able to continue to do it that way. We'll see it done both ways. With more middleware, or you could say traditional backend tools built, like Steemit's building a lot of backend tools that sit between the blockchain and our application Steemit, so that we can construct new ways of looking at the data. But it should continue to be just as easy to use the content management system primitives of Steem and just use that as a baseline for organization of a website or application.
All right.
Yeah, so there's been some great conversation going on in the YouTube chat, and like I think overall, like if this is going to be a system that relies on money as kind of a core function, or at least like value as being part of like the voting weight, there's always going to be like capitalism isn't fair. Like it always kind of feels unfair when you're at the bottom end of it. So I mean, I've had a fun scenario on Steemit where it's like someone flagged my post just because they felt like flagging it, and I had every right to go through their posts and flag all of theirs. And if I was able to do more damage to them, I mean, that's the game we can play. So it becomes that transparent sort of mechanism against people. But I think overall, like, better in the long run, and things will be more distributed and more kind of decentralized. So it has a lot of appearance to a lot of potential to kind of be better over time. I'm curious, Ned, being someone who, or the Steem platform, really got the better end of the stick with this most recent crypto news story. The WISE ratings was published based on all the different cryptocurrencies, and there were a lot of platforms that weren't even like operational yet, getting good reviews. But I think, Steem did pretty well with getting a B- in the crypto reviews. So you outperformed Bitcoin. So any comment on Steem's WISE rating?
Yeah, the only rating I really looked at was Steem. Steem got a buy rating, and I think that's great. They must be looking at the potential for the platform, and how entrepreneurs are using it or could use it in the future. I'm really excited about that. If people are critiquing how they did their measurements and all that, well, I don't really know how they did it. I assumed that they basically took a bottom-up approach and rated lots of different aspects of these platforms, and then basically tallied up those scores to end up where they did. So I'm not surprised about Steem's rating. I think it's I think as a buy, yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me.
Another question too for you, Ned. So recently, Steem dollars, which are supposed to be trading at roughly $1 because they're backed by $1 worth of Steem, they were trading at a massive premium, getting to about $8 at one point. Who would be buying Steem dollars all the way up to $8 if they functionally aren't worth that much? Like, any comment on it?
Steem dollars continue to perplex me. It's a mechanism that always was interesting, particularly at the beginning of Steem, when Steem had a high inflation rate, and there was the possibility that Steem dollars would be the de facto currency of the platform. It was a more interesting tool, but as we realized, Steem really needs to be the de facto currency. So Steem dollars kind of have a weird place in the ecosystem right now. There's a big movement of community members who are trying to install or trying to propose to the community new economic mechanisms that would peg the Steem dollar better. One part of that proposal is that there's a two-way conversion. Currently, there's only a one-way conversion, which basically only provides a floor to the peg, where people can convert Steem blockchain dollars to Steem, but there's no ceiling to the peg, which could be created if people were able to convert Steem to Steem blockchain dollars and then do an arbitrage that way. So I look forward to seeing what the community comes up with there. I know a number of witnesses and businesses are involved in creating that proposal. It's actually an exciting moment for decentralization that people are responding to a sort of confusing topic or even a red flag in the community, and they're working on a solution. I'm really excited to see that sort of organization.
Yeah, I mean, until something is implemented, right now it is trading at about 13. No, sorry, I'm mistaken. It's I'm looking at the wrong point, but it got as high as like $12. So like there's clearly some arbitrage if you're willing to buy Steem dollars and convert it. You can definitely come out ahead. But I'm glad to hear that there's mechanisms being worked on to hopefully fix it. We're kind of coming to our 1 hour point here, so I don't know any final points before we do our Bitcoin price prediction. I'm open to it. Even from the basement there, guys. I know you've been very quiet and patiently listening. So any questions for the Steemit and DTube teams, I would greatly appreciate it. Where's my live audience button? I need that applause. Okay. Well, I'll get the chart going up here, and we'll do the Bitcoin price predictions because there's some good volatility going on right now, and anything can really happen. 1 sec here.
Prediction for when?
Yeah, I guess you're new to the show. Ned's a bit of a veteran here, but what we do is we look at the Bitcoin chart and we try and predict the price of Bitcoin in 1 week's time. Chart up here. Sorry, 1 second. Share my screen. There it goes. All right. So we did a show last week, and or it was 2 weeks ago. So on the 20th, let's see, what was our price? We were about $1,200, $800. So, oh geez, no one was really bearish enough. So I think Jared was the winner there. He was the big bear in the room. Congratulations, Jared, from the QuantStamp team. So Ned, being that you are heavily involved in the space and have kind of seen it all, I mean, what do you think the price of Bitcoin is going to be next week?
Next week. Where is it right now? It's at 10,000.
Right now we're at $11,450.
I'm going to say there's a 0% change over the week, but over the course of the year, I'm pretty bullish that we can see a big trend upwards.
Ned is saying 11,500. All right. I can dig it. Adrian, what do you think?
No idea, honestly. I think it's going to keep going down for a bit. If you listen to Adrian on Steemit, he has a lot of good tips. He thinks it's going to keep going down, so I'm going to follow his bet. I'm going to say like 10,500 or something like that. Maybe like 9,500. Something like that.
9,500, okay. Yeah, I'm kind of I'm feeling a little bear still. I mean, we got a little bit more time before we have like the end of the Chinese New Year, and that's always been historically bearish. So I'm probably gonna say, 8,888, and my live audience in Ontario here has slid me some results as well. They think 9,800. So we'll go to our live audience in Vancouver. You guys got any predictions of what you think the price of Bitcoin is going to be next Saturday at this time?
12,100.
12,100, eh? Okay. Anyone else? I might even go to the YouTube chat because they've been very talkative tonight. Let's see here. Oh, 12,000. Yeah, lots of people saying above 12,000. So many bulls. Oh man, that's good to hear. People were probably buying the dip pretty hard. So yeah, we'll wrap it up there with the Bitcoin price predictions. Appreciate you guys joining us on the show today. Ned, as always, thank you for helping finish off the trilogy. I'm sure we can start a new saga here shortly with smart media tokens taking off and becoming part of the main net. Any final words for the audience?
Just thanks, Alex. It's always a pleasure to be on the show.
Oh, thank you. And Adrian, first time on the show. Thank you so much. We hope to have you on again when DTube has fully taken over YouTube and massively overperforming their platform. So, thank you so much.
I hope we can follow the steps of Ned, who was like, when you first interviewed him, like his website had what, like how much traffic? Like nothing, right?
Very, very little traffic compared to today.
So yeah, we're growing in traffic. We hope we will catch up. Like in 1 year, who knows how big DTube will be.
I always say that. I'd say this: Steemit and Steem is not a success unless Steemit gets dwarfed by other websites built on top of it, another application.
I agree. Because the original model with blogging, it's not perfect. It was like perfect concept app. Cloning Reddit was a good idea. But yeah, then there's going to be so many apps. You cannot do everything, right? It's impossible to chase like 10 rabbits at the same time. So I think doing the Steemit one was a brilliant idea. Like, because the Reddit community was also like linked with it, like people on Reddit, they like to discuss things and so on. So it really applied really well to the social blockchain thingy. I think it's great. I don't know why some people still use Bitcoin Talk, when we have like Steemit now.
Oh, but Satoshi used Bitcoin Talk, so that's why it's always going to be kind of a cornerstone of the community, even though it's being surpassed by, I think, the amount of use that Steemit is getting. So yeah, thanks to everyone who's been tuning in. I'll post this on DTube ASAP, and be sure to upvote the post and make sure it gets hosted forever. And thank you so much to our live audience who tuned in. We really appreciate the we really appreciate you guys. Especially the people on YouTube as well. And thank you again. It's okay. Roll the slide, Craig. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Some of those are real. All right.